This is the Francis Barker M73 prismatic compass. These are quite simply the highest quality handheld compasses in the world by far. This is an engineering masterpiece and no other handheld compass even comes close. Now, I know that some people would disagree with that last statement, but I can only give you my subjective opinion. So if you disagree and you know of a better engineered compass, then let me know in the comments. Now, there are lots of very high quality, expensive compasses out there. For an example, there's the Connaught 4, which is a military compass, which will cost you around £290, which is approximately $370. Or if you're going out game shooting, you don't really need to know the exact bearing to anywhere. You just need to be able to tell the beaters the general direction. So you could use something like the Dalby Pocket Compass, which is around £200 or what's that, $250. There are lots of other compasses which don't cost so much, which are really good, and lots of people use them. I mean, just as an example, there's the Sunto M3 or the Kamenga 3H. There's the Silver Expedition 4 or the Brunton TrueArc 15. But in this video, I'll be talking about the Francis Barker M73, which is named after Francis Barker, who founded the company, I think, in 1848. So if this really is the highest quality compass in the world, you have to ask yourself, if it's so good, why doesn't everybody have one? Well, for a start, at around £500, which is what, $640, they're probably too expensive to be widely used. Also, I would think that probably, maybe, another reason not many people use them is that they're not that easy to use on their own. If you want to use it with a map, you'll also need a ruler, a pencil and an eraser. But I suppose the main reason is that they simply aren't intended to be used by hikers or mountaineers. They're designed primarily and, well, solely as a military compass. Unlike the Kamenga 3H, which is also a military compass, many people use their Kamenga as the main trekking compass. But I have personally never met anybody who uses one of these Francis Barkers while they're out trekking or hill walking. Basically, they're not designed for civilian use. Anyway, I've seen lots of videos of people telling you how good the M73 is, but I've not been able to find any videos of anybody actually explaining how to use one. So I thought I'd make this short video just in case anybody was ever considering buying one of these compasses. Now, so that you can understand the rest of this video, firstly I'll go through the main parts of the compass. The compass is divided into three main sections. There's the lid and the body, which are made from a solid anodized aluminium block, and there's the brass lens holder. The lid is hinged, so you can open and close it, obviously. In the lid itself, there is a window with a sight line, and at the top is a tab with a notch. And just below the notch is a tritium mark, which is used when you're using the compass at night. Like everything else on this compass, if the sight line or the window is ever broken, you can just send it back to the manufacturers, which is Pfizer Optics, and they'll repair it for you. When the lid is closed correctly, you'll hear a loud click. I'm not really sure if that click is such a good idea in a covert military sense, but who knows. The main section of the compass is the body. On the top of the body we have the glass-topped rotating bezel, and this has another tritium mark on it for night navigation, and the compass degrees marked on it in 5-degree increments. At the top of the bezel is the index mark, which is again illuminated by a tritium plate underneath, and the mark is continued by the index line, which is in the interior of the dial. Once the bezel has been set, it can be kept in position by tightening the bezel clamp. Inside the body is the brass assembly known as the tank, and all the internal parts of the compass sit inside the tank, which is filled with purified kerosene. There's a mother of pearl rotating disc with degrees in 1-degree increments marked around the edge. The numbers are printed backwards on the outside of the disc, and I'll explain that in a moment. And the disc rotates on a sapphire pivot. On the disc, the north is marked by a tritium line. Towards the inner disc, there's another set of degrees marked in 5-degree increments. These numbers are printed in a larger font so you can read them, and they'd be used when you're following a bearing when you're walking across the countryside. Again, I'll go through that in a moment. Oh, by the way, This is an M73 610, which uses degrees. You can also get an M73 621, which uses NATO mils. So if you prefer to use mils rather than degrees, you can get one of these in mils. The last main section is the prism holder. When you look through the prism, the outer disc numbers are magnified by 20 times. And if you remember, I said they were printed backwards. So the prism will reverse that image so the numbers are readable. And below the prism is the prism mount slide. And above the prism is the sighting notch. So that's the main parts of the compass identified. Now comes the interesting bit. Let's look at how we actually use it. Now, the first thing to do is we need to set the compass up for your eyesight. So all we're going to do is open the lid till it's at right angles and push the lens holder all the way forward. Put your thumb through the thumb loop and look through the notch at something in the distance. So you're just looking through the notch in that direction. So hold it up and look through it. If you've used a lensatic compass where you have to switch focus between looking at the target and looking at the bearing, you may be surprised to know that it isn't necessary with a prismatic compass. The prism will bend the bearing, or bend the light containing the bearing. Does that make sense? It will bend the bearing so it's displayed at the bottom of your eye. You know, it's a bit like a head-up display on a fighter aircraft. So when you're looking through the notch, you should be able to see everything that you need, you know, at the same time. If you can't see something or something is out of focus, you'll need to adjust the prism for your eyesight. Now, there are different ways of doing this, but the way I do it is to push the prism mount all the way up, and it's normally quite stiff, and this, you know, it's designed like that, so it prevents it moving once it's been set. And then look through the notch and see if everything is in focus. If not, push down ever so slightly to lower the prism and then look through it again. You may have to go up and down a few times until it's perfectly focused for your eyes. And you keep doing this until everything is in focus and you can see the target, the wire, the bearing all at the same time. So now the compass has been set for your eyes and you look through it, everything's in focus. What we're going to do now is we're going to look at how to take a bearing from a map using the M73. Now, there are two ways of doing this. When you buy the compass, it comes with a set of instructions. So I'll go through the method which is in the instructions and tells you how to take a bearing from a map. And then I'll show you how I do it, which is slightly different. The instructions will tell you that the first thing you need to do is to orientate your map northwards. And the simplest way to do this is to place both the small notch, which is at the bottom of the thumb loop, and the large notch on the lid tab on an easting, which is, these are the vertical lines on your map. Then just rotate the map and the compass together until the north marker is directly underneath the index line. The next thing to do is to draw a line with a pencil from your start location to your destination. And then what you do is you put your compass on the map with the prism towards your starting point and the wire towards your destination. Then undo the bezel clamp. Rotate the bezel until the tritium mark is directly over the north pointer on the disc. And also remember, this method only works if your map is orientated with north directly at the top. Then reclamp the bezel clamp and your bearing is shown underneath the index mark. That system does work, and but it assumes that you have a large, perfectly flat surface to put your map on. And in my personal opinion, it adds in extra steps to the process which aren't really needed. So this is how I do it. Firstly, take your map out. It doesn't really matter which direction it's pointing. And as there are no straight edges on this compass, you're still going to need to draw a line from your start point to your destination. Put the compass on the map so the lid notch is pointing in the direction of travel. A good tip is to put the lid notch onto the pencil line you've just drawn and then just rotate the compass until the rest of the pencil line is directly underneath the wire. Rotate the dial until the tritium mark is pointing northwards on your map, and then just read the bearing underneath the index mark. So that's how to take a grid bearing using this compass from a map. Now don't forget, it is a grid bearing, so you may have to adjust it for the magnetic declination in your area. So next, how to follow a bearing which someone else has given you. So the way you do this is you open the lid fully, so it's at 90 degrees, Undo the bezel clamp and rotate the bezel until the bearing that you've been given is directly underneath the index mark. Retighten the clamp and then hold the compass directly in front of you, and you turn your whole body until the tritium mark is directly over the north indicator. Yep. You're now facing your bearing. So you walk to something that you can see, which is directly along your bearing, and when you arrive at that, you do the same again, and you keep leapfrogging until you arrive at your destination. Now, another method of following a bearing is to look through the prism notch, and I'll go through that now. There are two main reasons to look through the prism: to take a bearing from a ground feature, and also to check the bearing that you're walking along. The way you do this is virtually the same for both of these reasons. Oh, just another thing. The way you hold these compasses is slightly different from other prismatic and lensatic compasses. The way you're supposed to do it, and it seems to work, is place your thumb through the thumb loop and rest it on your clenched fist. Then look through the notch and keep your eyes about 2 inches away. So basically you rest your thumb knuckle on your cheek. You should be able to see the bearing, which is the numbers on the disc, the target, the wire, and the bearing pointer. If you can't see all of these, then you may need to, redo the focusing by adjusting the prism holder, which we did earlier on. So how do we take a bearing from a ground feature? Like the top of a hill or a wall junction or something. It's really simple. Look through the notch. So you're looking through the notch to the wire and place the wire on the ground feature. You'll then be able to see the bearing in the lower half of your eye. That's how you take a bearing. It's really simple with these compasses. The next thing is, how do we check our bearing to make sure we're going in the right direction? We should be walking on a bearing of 1, 2, 3. How do we know we're going in the right direction? Simple. Look through the notch, look in the direction of travel that you're actually going. If you're walking towards a tree or a mountain or something, put the wire on the tree or the mountain, and it'll tell you that the bearing that you're actually walking on. If it's not correct, just rotate until the correct bearing is visible, and then that's the way you go. So that's it, the Francis Barker M73 prismatic compass. Hopefully you found that interesting, and if you've got any comments, post them in the comments box. Thanks for watching. Just a quick point here, most people, including me, like to keep things simple, when we're talking about compasses, which use tritium. And we'll say things like, the tritium glows, so you can use it at night. But as we're doing an in-depth study here, let's give a little bit more details. Regardless of what you may see on some compass manufacturers' websites, or what the man in the shop will tell you, tritium doesn't glow. What it does is decay. And as it decays, it emits electrons, so it's radioactive. Now, something is said to be radioactive if its nuclei is unstable and it decays by emitting particles, like, photons and protons and neutrinos and other bits. Physicists will be having a nightmare now when somebody describes bits. Now, there is a certain type of radioactive decay called beta decay. And in this type, it's electrons that are emitted. Tritium is coated, in this case, with a phosphor. There are thousands of different types of phosphors, and a phosphor is any material which glows when exposed to radiation. So it's the phosphor coating which is glowing, not the tritium, because tritium doesn't glow. The disc rotates on a sapphire pivot. I was asked on a navigation course why very expensive compasses use jewels. What's the point of them? Well, it all comes down to cost. If you're manufacturing something and you want to keep the cost down, you'll tend to use parts that will do the job but don't cost too much. Or in the cases of some compasses for sale on Amazon, they look as if they may do the job and cost very little. If you want to manufacture something to the highest possible standard, you'll use the best materials regardless of cost. In this case, if you have a disc rotating around basically a pinhead, at the point of contact there'll be friction, which will eventually wear down the surfaces of the touching parts, obviously. Now, sapphires have a very low kinetic friction. It's more than 2/3 less than, as if a brass pin was used. And more importantly, sapphires are very, very hard. And they will maintain their smooth operation for basically as long as the rest of the compass is in one piece. I'm trying to remember my school chemistry lessons. The hardness of a material, basically how easy it is to scratch, is measured in Mohs, or measured on the Mohs scale from 1 to 10. So plastic would have a Moh of 1 and diamond would have a Moh of 10. Sapphire has a Moh of 9. This is the reason that machines with lots of moving parts like watches use jewels. It's also the reason why there's a jewel or a sapphire on the pivot of the M73 compass. On the disc, the north is marked by a tritium line. Now, here's a quick point. If you're looking to buy a new compass and you walk into a shop and look at all the shiny new compasses on display, other than price, there really isn't any way to know which compass is better than the others. So the only advice I can give you is to do your research before you go into the shop. As an example, the north magnets used on the M73 has a very high remnants and cursivity, and this can be checked out online. Maybe this would be a good topic for a complete video. The basics are that cheaper compasses will use magnets with a low BH curve, and those who remember their advanced physics lessons from college will know what that means. If you've forgotten, then a BH curve is basically a diagram showing how much magnetic flux density varies within the material. Anyway, the Francis Barker magnet has a very high BH curve, so it's got a very high retentivity, also known as remnants, and this means that it's very strong and will stay magnetized for a long time. It also has a high cursivity, which again, I'm trying to think how to put this. At a basic level, it means that the magnetism of the material isn't wiped out by other strong magnetic fields like you get inside modern military vehicles. Yeah, how magnets actually work, it would take a new complete video. So when I've got time, I'll make one. I don't normally do compass reviews or complete instructions, as anything I say will tend to get lost in the fog of thousands of other videos, and some of those videos are made by people who know exactly what they're talking about. Other videos are made by people who, well, we'll leave it at that one. For this particular compass, I can't find one single website or even a video giving any details at all about the compass, other than the manufacturer's website, which just tells you how much it weighs and how big it is. So I thought I'd make this video, which hopefully people will find hopefully interesting.